Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. The last week plus we have been playing Ultimate General American Revolution, and that series will continue tomorrow, but we are going to take a first look at a game. It's new-ish, but I think it's a remaster. I think it's been around a little while, called Heads Will Roll Reforged. This is... oh, how do you describe it? I think it's technically a roguelike. I don't really play a lot of games like this, but I did play A Legionary's Life many years ago, which was a game where you were basically a Roman soldier during the Second Punic War, and it was kind of a survival game, right? Like, you were put into these different combat situations. They sort of had this interesting combat dynamic where you kind of had to manage your energy and strike where it made sense at the enemy, and all sort of wrapped up in this story of you being a career legionary and trying to survive through a series of historical or quasi-historical engagements that you were thrust into. It was a really compelling sort of narrative game with this sort of a concept. Well, Heads Will Roll Reforged is in many ways this, I don't know if there's any sort of connection. I know they're not the same developer, but it feels like a spiritual successor in many ways to A Legionary's Life, and so I wanted to take a look at it. It does have some DLCs. It does have a weird free DLC that's like turns the romance stuff into something more adult, I think, so warning if that's something that, just don't download that DLC and you don't have to worry about that, I assume. I don't know. I haven't run into anything like that. And I don't have that DLC downloaded, so... but yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into this game. I've played it a little bit, so just sort of an FYI. So we'll call my character the Butcher. I played it a little bit because this is the kind of game where basically you will gain more experience. There's different difficulty levels. There's a story mode, which I'm assuming is easier. And then there's a Heads Will Roll mode, which is the hardest difficulty, but it's the only way to level your profile up so you get a better character after you die. And so that's the difficulty level we're going to be doing. I assume the story mode, it's easier to just get through the story as opposed to worrying about dying all the time. But this is one of those permadeath type games where when you die, your character dies and you have to start all over. When you play the Heads Roll mode, you gain character generation points, which allows you to have a better character each time you play. So you can see we're already level 21, and so, that gives us a better chance of surviving longer. We are, I think, Finnish. I've been watching Finnish play this, and this has been on my radar for a while, but the reason we're playing this is Finnish, who's on the podcast, has been playing it a lot on Twitter or Twitch, and Tortuga Power has started his own series because he was really into it, and I was like, all right, I've been waiting on this game for a little while. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what it's all about. And so, like, Finnish, I think, is like level 400 or something like that. So there's a ways to go, and he hasn't even beaten the game yet. But I think this is a good enough starting point where you can kind of see what the game's all about without being too penalized for not being far enough in. So we'll go ahead and start. You can see we've got 428 character generation points, which, what does that mean? Well, you can see here our character has 35 health, 35 stamina. Health is important because as you take damage in battles, that obviously draws from your hit points. Stamina is important in terms of your ability to engage. Every time you do something in battle, it uses stamina or regenerates stamina. And every time the enemy does something, it uses stamina, and that influences like how likely you are to hit them and things like that. We'll talk about that more when we get into the actual fights. But you can see here, that's assuming our character starts with all of these traits zeroed out, and our generation points of 428 is what allows us to increase some of these points. So you can see here, strength is basically determines how much can you carry, how large is your inventory, but also how much damage is done by your attacks, how able you are to resist enemy attacks that are sort of strength-based attacks, like if the enemy's going to bash you with a shield, how likely you are to stun an enemy with a shield or a shield blast, and then the damage that you do to armor, and then the heaviness of inflicted injuries. So we'll go ahead and bump that up. Now, each point you increase your attribute is 10 off of your generation points until, I think it's 10 until 5. So 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Yeah, so it's 10 generation points up to 5. Once you go above 5, the game's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're trying to make a really buffed character at the start here. So if you go to 6, you can see it drops it by, was that 50 points? Yeah, 50 points. So it gets expensive quick. So what we're going to do is we're just going to buff up agility as well, which basically influences how able you are to dodge enemy attacks or throw things. So you can go ahead and do agility. Dodging is really important in your ability to be an effective fighter. Endurance obviously influences this stamina trait here, and also is sort of a secondary of dodge or fatigue recovery, so we'll go ahead and bump that up to 5 as well. Same rule for 5 on all of this. If you go above 6, that's when it jumps up to 50 points per. Coordination influences stamina recovery and also the chances to successfully recover. Recover is a thing you do in battle to get stamina back so you can, fight effectively again. And then vitality influences your hit points. So you can see up here your health, 35 out of 35. Every time we bump that up, it's 2 more health. So you can see now we start at 45 instead of 35, a pretty substantial increase. If we were to bump it to 6, it's still just 2, but it costs 50 generation points. So we'll keep that at 5. Craftsmanship is the number of things you can craft, and the likelihood of crafting more than 1. I don't do a ton of crafting. Maybe we'll do a little bit in this playthrough, but I feel like crafting should be important. I haven't gotten to the point of the game where it is all that important. So we'll go ahead and we'll do 2 of these. Just to try and save some generation points. I don't know if it's really going to make a difference here. Then you've got other things you can spend your points on. You can spend it on virtue, by the way, which influences, like, how good are you? Are you a good person or are you a bad person? 95 or higher, praying or mortifying flesh will have a 5% chance to increase your stats. Okay, I don't, so this is expensive, like 5, it's 50 for 5 virtue points. I don't know. I'm not going to touch that. I don't even know if I'm going to be a high virtue character. You could be a low virtue character and be in the negatives. You can also do weapon talents, which allows you to have like a better, there's a tech tree for weapon unlocks. So we could do that, but or we can't do that because it's apparently more than I have points for. How expensive is that? I'm curious. Is that like 200 points? Or maybe just, oh my God, it's 200 points. No, thank you, sir. Let's not do that. Civic talents are cheaper. They're 100. But you'll unlock a lot of that stuff, so we just won't even bother. There's a crossbow ability, which crossbows seem like that could be something that would be fun to use. It costs 20. Melee weapons influence, like, if you've got a sword or whatever that you're trying to use, it influences how good you are with using that. So you can see this also. This costs 40. So melee weapons cost 40 points. Ooh. You can get 1 point every time you train, but training is hella expensive on your, what do you call it? Your fatigue, which is important between battles. So we'll do 3 for melee weapons, and maybe I can't do a 4th. I could do 1 crossbow, I think. So we could do 1 crossbow skill. Increases the likelihood you are to hit. Crossbows are very powerful. And then we'll do 1 more for craftsman, I guess. So that leaves us with 3, which we can convert to 1 florin, which is like no money at all. Surprised they don't have any weapons unlocked anything here. I don't know how you do that, but that is something that will unlock different things over time. And then you can see here now our character has 45 health, 45 stamina, 12 stamina recovery, and not 6 fatigue recovery. So I think that's a decent start. So this is a very heavily narrative-driven game. It's not like you're not going to see a ton of graphics or anything like that. This is, I assume, a one-man studio or a very small studio at the very least. But you can see here, this is going to be basically a narrative game. So you can say a breakout of another year. War between England and France was barely a surprise to anybody. The rivalry between the two kingdoms has lasted for more than a century, and small but regular armed conflicts have become commonplace for them. This war seemed to many to be an ordinary event, but the English king had other plans. This time he had no interest in lesser goals and aimed as high as to ascend the throne of France itself, using its ongoing dynasty crisis as a casus belli. War preparations, started by Edward III, is that Longshanks? Have surpassed any of his past military campaigns. Understanding the scope of his ambitions, the King of England did not delude himself. The war that he was about to embark on was going to be the greatest in history, and for an undertaking like that, a proper army was in order. The king began gathering forces long before declaring war. Long negotiations and uncounted secret agreements bolstered the royal army with numerous allies as well as mercenaries from all over Europe. The core of his forces has always been and was constituted by the best of English chivalry, eagerly awaiting their chance to finally outshine the French chevaliers and claim the laurels of the best in the world. For the honorable knights, this coming war was also an opportunity to amass wealth off its spoils and bask in the glorious victory of battle. You, too, ended up among the ranks of kings and countless soldiers, but unlike the knights and mercenaries eagerly enlisting out of their own will, you are a peasant's son, and you didn't have much of a choice. As besides professional warriors, the army also required those to do its dirty work, both in the meaning of digging ditches and being able to give up their lives for dirt cheap. By royal decree, a militia force was drafted from the free folk. Many wealthier people were able to bribe their way out of service, but you, coming from a poor family, had no such opportunity. Thus, you received a royal gift for your 18th birthday. I doubt 18 was like a, hey, you're a man, now you're drafted, but whatever. An unexpected journey to the shores of France. Weapon in hand, you suddenly, and this is a lie, you don't actually start with a weapon. You suddenly find yourself treading on unfriendly soil. You wonder whether you will ever see your home again. So this is the prologue. A journey begins. We're at Castle Dunkirk in northern France. And then you can see here, welcome to Heads Will Roll Reforged. Soon you will embark on your first adventure, but before you do, we have to warn you. Not all risks are worth taking. Not all fights are worth fighting. Blindly charging forward without considering the circumstances and consequences is the fastest way to get yourself killed. Heads Will Roll will try to present the player with a lot of different choices, but your answers will never be right or wrong. There's always something to lose and something to gain. No matter the choice, a good strategy for success is approaching the adventures with the intent to simply survive rather than become a hero. Yeah, and in that sense, this game tries to kind of be more realistic, right? Where it's like, hey, the heroes die. So if you're going to be heroic, you better be in good shape to like hold up that end of the bargain, because if you just rush forward and you're not prepared, especially early on when you haven't unlocked a lot of stuff like I haven't, you're going to die if you stick your neck out, right? First over the trench in World War I, probably going to die. Don't go on dangerous adventures if you're not confident in your success, as you may be severely punished for unpreparedness. Some quests will fail, some characters you might grow or hate despise you, sometimes you will have to flee from battle in order to save your life. Don't let these things bother you too much, as your real goal is to make it to the very end in one piece. And the last but not least, remember to keep track of time. Training, shopping, adventuring, and completing quests will all consume it. Neglect one too much in favor of the other, and you are in for unpleasant surprises. Alright, so our salary is 55 florins. You can get more based on a prestige level, but we have no prestige. We're just a peasant who has been drafted into service. So let's get started. So this is the between battle phase. This is basically the camp screen. Again, very similar to a legionary's life where you do like camp stuff. You can see our character up here are 5 strength, 5 agility, 5 endurance, 5 coordination, 5 vitality. These can all change, by the way, over time. 3 melee weapons, 1 crossbow. We do have 1 civic talent, apparently, just right off the bat. So let's go ahead and do a Lucky Devil. There's a whole bunch of different things you can choose. Like one of them gives you more inventory space because you're a beast of burden. One increases the quality of manually crafted armor, which I can't really do yet. You could be a thief, which lets you do stuff like that. Music. I don't have any weapons or musical instruments. Gambler. Maybe you'd be a better gambler, but I don't really do a lot of that. I don't have a squad. I probably won't. Every third time you train vitality, you would also receive an additional point in strength. Okay. So really what we're just going to do, we're going to do Lucky Devil. I think boosting my luck is important. Getting lucky is good. And this is a game that is heavy on the RNG. So I think being lucky is a good direction to go. No renown, no enemies defeated, no battle wounds, no relationships yet, no inventory yet. You can see we have nothing. So when the game's like, hey, your weapon in hand, no, we have nothing. So we're going to have to solve that. And then you can see this little green bar up in the upper right shows you how much time you have to the next story event. Can I just beseech all game developers for games like this? Don't do a progress bar like this. Give me a number of turns or give me a countdown on the timer, because so many games do this thing where it's like a green progress bar, and it's not always clear. You're like looking at it and you're guessing like, how much time do I have left? How many events is that? How many actions is that? And you're never really quite sure. And Legionary's Life does this too, and it's like, I really would just like a number. Give me a number. And I don't think that's in the settings. I didn't see that in the settings. Okay, so first things first, I think what we need to do, let's go trade, because we have nothing. We have a little bit of money, but we have nothing else. So let's go trade. Let's see what is available for us to purchase. Ooh, a javelin. Short throwing spear can be used for both melee and ranged combat. That's intriguing. It does 5 damage. Regular attacks use 8 stamina. Special attacks use 12. It's a one-handed weapon. You can see a bunch of different things here. Actually, what we're going to do first, we're going to get a sewing kit, because that's 10. And then I'm going to buy 5 cloth, because I can craft things. Because I'm a level 2 craftsman already, I can go ahead and do that. So let's go here. We're going to go to crafting, because I can generate a little bit of money, because each cloth cost me 3 gold. But because I have a sewing kit now, which was 10, if I go ahead and do 1 cloth, it results in a bandage. And a bandage can be sold for 5, and actually we just got a craftsmanship thing where it awarded me 2 bandages for the 1 cloth. So that's a real return on the investment there. I don't know that this is a very efficient use of resources, but I'm going to do it because early on money is not easy to come by, and this is a way to get a little bit of extra cash. So we're going to do that. Go back to trade. You can see a tiny little sliver of the time bar did drop, so we did spend some time here. But you can see cost is 5, whereas when we were buying the cloth, I guess there's no more cloth left to show you, but it was 3. So it's a nice little profit, pretty good margin there. So now we're up to 61 gold, and we were at 55 before we bought the sewing kit. We were at 45 before we bought the cloth. So nice little return on our investment there. We'll go ahead and do the same thing with leather. It takes 2 leather to make a canteen. I think my crafting is a high enough skill to do that. So we got 2. I do 2 more. And this is just like one of those grindy things that these kind of games have. But, oh well, we're playing. Oh, we got 2. Nice. So canteens are worth 15. So that's an even better result. Leather's 6 and 6, so it's 12. And then when you sell it, it's 15. So to get 2 twice is pretty lucrative. I know these are like small little things to me anyway. Canteens are actually a useful thing to have as well, because it reduces it gains stamina back and also gives you back some fatigue. It's a very useful thing to have in battle. The problem is, to use it, you need a pouch or a belt or something like that, and I don't see any of those things for me to purchase, and I don't have the ability to craft it yet. So we're just going to go ahead and sell them for cash, because again, we can sell them for 15, and so that's why I'm using that little arrow there. So now we're up to 100 gold, so just working our way toward richness. Now, one of the things we should probably have is some armor. So we can go ahead and buy a leather armor set here for 65 gold. It's a little bit much. I only have 1 more leather thing in my that I can get here. I need a weapon is what I need. All right, improvised shield is 20. So I wouldn't really have much left for a weapon here. I really like to find a hunter's sword early on, because a hunter's sword can be used to like get extra gold by killing livestock, or not livestock, but animals, which can then be sold for gold. But it's kind of a random event if you're going to go ahead and get it. And each time you re-roll, so we haven't used any more of the time here, but each time you re-roll, there is a chance that this timer bar goes down a little bit. So that's something to consider. All these arrows would be more useful if we actually had a crossbow, which, remember, we did try and go for that trait, but we didn't get it here. So I can get a rusty sword for 30. It's a decent weapon, and it gives a chance of giving the enemy you're fighting with poisoning them. It does a decent amount of damage. Remember, we lost the javelin, or we didn't lose it, but it kind of went away. You can see here this little timer bar just counted down a bit more. I'm gonna go with a gambeson for our first armor set. So you can see here, no armor. Go ahead and equip this, and now we've got this. And you can see if down here our body armor went from 0 to 5, and our limb armor went from 0 to 4. So we do have a little bit of armor now. Not a lot, but a little bit of armor to start with. And I don't want to use too much time because time is valuable, but I really would like to get a hunter's sword. So I re-rolled. Still nothing. It didn't use time that time. Snake poison, huh? What do you even use that for? How much is a hand axe? 30? Does a lot of damage. It's a one-handed axe. Very short range, though, so it gets you in close. Does a lot of damage, but it does expose you to the enemy here. Ranged weapons do a better job of keeping the enemy away. God damn it. I just used another time. I really want that damn... Ooh, a queen pouch. Pouches are valuable. Not, like, valuable, but in the sense of, like, you need them to carry certain things. Alright, I'm wasting way too much time here. We'll go with a cheap improvised shield. Oh, crap. I don't have enough for weapons, do I? Alright, well, there's another way to get money. So let's go back to the inventory here. Let's go ahead and equip our shield. Our bad shield. And our pouch. And we'll go to the activities here. So this is one of the other things you can see up here. This is our fatigue level. It's basically 0. We haven't done anything. Here's our timer. So there's different things you can do here. We can hang around the camp, which lowers your fatigue. It's kind of like just shooting the breeze. If you have an alcoholic beverage, you can drink that also to get some fatigue back, but it does pose a risk. If you're drinking all the time, it can influence your, your virtue. It can make other soldiers like you, but it can hurt your reputation if you're like a drunk. You can gamble to try and earn more money, but I don't ever find that worthwhile, and you can buy dice to kind of cheat your way to gambling better, but even then I feel like I lose a lot. You can pray, which increases your virtue, I guess, and it also lowers your fatigue a little bit. And then other stuff will show up here as well. Additionally, we can socialize, so there's 3 different people we can socialize with right now. The Earl, we can't really talk to. He's sort of the nobility in the camp, if you will, in charge of the army. We have nothing to talk with him about now. We will later. We can talk to this sort of battle-hardened veteran, who is a veteran of the ill-fated Scottish campaign, presumably against William Wallace. Again, I think that's why he's I think it's Longshanks. But anyway, so you can like get information about him. So you can ask him like, what about the war? It's a grand campaign in France. France is at its weakest point ever. We'll teach these frogs. But you and I, yes, pay is good, but wars aren't easy, and don't believe all the nonsense. We won't get good money. We won't get good spoils. Don't believe the recruiters. They're just trying to sell you a Camaro at 20% interest. Camaro, whatever the stupid car name is. So okay, he can give you a little bit of information that he can tell you a little bit about the camp. He's kind of like the tutorial thing here. We don't really have anything to learn from him at this point, to be honest. If you're playing the game, talk to him. He talks to you about things like equipment and tactics. Doesn't really matter at the moment. There are other things to interact with him later, but at the moment he's just sort of a tutorial dude. And then there's the blacksmith here. He can actually repair your weapons for you, but right now he won't. You can say, I want to repair my equipment. I don't have any equipment that needs to be repaired, but you can say that. But the reason we're doing that right now is because he will give me a job. So I can get a little bit more money to buy some other weapons. So it does use energy to work at the forge here. So you work forge. You can see we use a little bit of fatigue. We gain 5 florins. It's not a very lucrative job. We do it twice. It increases our craftsmen from 3 to 4. And we now have 10 more gold because we've worked there twice. Which use 2 of those time things up here. But if we go up to trade now, you can see we do have 20 gold. And I don't get how it's so frustrating to try and get. I could do a light crossbow. I don't have enough money for that. Damn. I just need a cheap sword now. I should have gone with what was there before. And it's just annoying how, often nothing. The hunting sword! Oh no, I don't have enough money! Okay, here's what we're going to do. I don't want to risk losing it because I've been trying to get it forever. So we'll sell my sewing kit because I'm not going to be crafting anything right now anyway. We can always buy stuff back later. Usually there's a sewing kit available, and then we'll buy the hunting sword. This is what I wanted, so I can go ahead and get... it's a decent weapon. You can see it's a 5 damage, which is the same as that other sword we were looking at. Length of 1 again, so in close. It does spend more stamina than the other weapon did, but it is valuable in my opinion to have. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead. You can see here, there's, again, once this ends, the story will progress and we'll be forced down sort of a combat route. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and hang around the camp, lower our stamina a bit. Do that a couple of times. We could pray too, but it doesn't lower stamina quite as much, I don't think, as hanging around. But I did increase my virtue by 1 by doing that twice. So my stamina is pretty much better. So now what we're going to do here, nothing else to do socializing. So let's go to quests and travel. And let's look at the character real quick here. So apparently my endurance, agility, and coordination all dropped 1. I'm not sure why. If it's the weapons I'm carrying, maybe? I don't really understand exactly how that all shakes out sometimes. But let's go to the quests and travel. We'll go to travel, and then we can go ahead and scavenge around Dunkirk. There's heists you can do where you can steal stuff, but for now we're going to scavenge around Dunkirk. So you get out of the camp to the surrounding forest to replenish your supplies, heading toward the unknown lying ahead. Following one of the countryside roads leads you to a small tavern by the lake. Its welcoming owners offer you to stay there a couple hours and relax and have a full meal for just the cost of 10 florins. I don't have 10 florins. So we refuse. Meanwhile, we just found some stuff. So it looks like we found some leather, which we can craft, remember? Although we will need a new crafting set, which I don't have gold for, so we'll have to be mindful of that. Although I will probably actually get gold now that I think about it for hunting with my sword, I would assume. Poisonous plants are worth 15, so pick those up. Healing herbs are worth less, they're worth 7. So I have to leave 1 behind because I don't have enough inventory space for all of that. So we sort of scavenged some leather. Using my hunting equipment, I scored some game to sell for money, so I got 35 gold for hunting. Wandering through the forest, I gradually am overcome by an increasing sense of danger, and my gut turns out to be true when you unexpectedly turn upon a wild boar. But the hunting sword that you're armed with allows you to quickly dispatch the savage beast. So that's an event that because we have the hunting sword, we can go ahead and we can dispatch the boar. Plus, the boar gives us 20 more florins in gold. Now, there might be like hunting values for crossbows. I'm not sure. But there you go. We got 55 more gold. That's what we started with just for having the hunting sword. So I think it was worth the time to do that. So we'll go back to trade. We'll go ahead and sell these poisonous plants because I don't think I have anything to do with them. Gives me 85 gold. We'll go down here and buy that sewing kit again. So we got the 10 back. And then we're going to go ahead and... These things give us strength. Do we have enough gold for them? We do. What about a kettle hat? I've got enough gold for that if I want to. That's much better armor. I'd rather have the strength for fighting, so we'll go ahead and do that. And I've got enough for a strong ale, which I will show you why that's useful soon too. So we just spent a bunch of money. Let's go back. Let's go ahead and craft this stuff. Yay, 2 canteens. Twice! So we got 4 canteens. Hell yeah, brothers. Alright, let's go back to trade. We're going to sell those canteens, right? Oh, but we have the pouch now. So let's do this actually instead real quick, because now that we have the coin pouch, I can put the canteen in the coin pouch, and the coin pouch can be used, the canteen can be very valuable in combat, remember. So we'll take 2 of those canteens with us. We'll go ahead and equip this whatever thing. Gives me better armor, or gives me better strength in the upcoming fights. And then we'll go ahead and we will sell 2 of the canteens. So we now have 20 gold, or 35 gold actually. I can use that toward other stuff. I could use it toward head armor. Traveling cloak will give me vitality and endurance. I need a little bit more money for that. So let's can we sell this thing again? So we sell it for half the cost we bought it for. That'll give me 40, which won't be enough for a... Alright, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to go to inventory, we're going to get one of those canteens back, and we're going to sell that. Because I do want that cloak. Endurance and vitality seem important. So this is like, you've got trinkets, these 3 sections down here are trinkets that sort of give you different perks or bonuses. I think it'll be useful to have that. Alright. Having spent a bit of time in the camp, you gradually get to know various people, including making friends with several other young men drafted from the militia. All of you have quite a lot in common. In fact, they're originated from poor families who were forced to go to war without anything even remotely resembling decent weapons. One of the guys is named Bartholomew, and having a rather shady past, suggests you fix the situation and presents you with a plan. His idea is to borrow the necessary equipment from someone who is not in such dire need of it, the guards of Castle Dunkirk that is towering above your camp. According to Bartholomew, the men guarding the castle are guards in name only. They've been drafted from the surrounding countryside just as the war started, and they can barely tell which side of the halberd goes toward the enemy. Security is as bad as it gets, so sneaking into one of the armories in the far tower should be a piece of cake. Everything else we'll figure out on site. Bartholomew claims he will take care of any locks we would encounter, so we just have to grab and carry away as much armor and weapons as we please. Several soldiers are really impressed and willing to try. They already plan to pull it off this night. So we can agree or refuse. Obviously, if we refuse, that might hurt our reputation with the other soldiers. If we agree, that poses risks to us, but we're playing on a YouTube series, so let's take some risks. Alright, so we agree, and we're going to do it at midnight. And so now we lose 10 virtue, so it does influence sort of our reputation, although it improves our reputation with the other soldiers, and now we get a new quest. It's our first quest, so these are things that you can do, like, you go to quest and travel. Laborer is a blacksmith, so one of our quests is to help the blacksmith out. We haven't worked there enough yet to get him to repair our stuff. And then Castle Heist is sort of the other one, which we can do here if we go to the Watchtower. Before we do that, let's go ahead and train. So you can see 7 strength, 4 agility, 5 endurance, 4 coordination, 8 vitality. So let's go ahead and... There's 3 different things you can train. Especially, you can train with crossbows, or you can train with melee weapons. With crossbows, you can do solo training or training with a coach. It does cost 20 florins to train with a coach, so we don't really have a lot of money to do that. It's moderately exhausting when you train with a coach, but it does improve your weapon skill. Sparring you can only do if you have a high enough reputation with the other soldiers, so you're sparring with them to train. We are well short of the required reputation. And then solo practice, which is very exhausting. It uses the most fatigue, and kind of is your only option early on, unless you're willing to spend a bunch of money that we don't have. So we'll do the solo practice here with spar or whatever. Improves our melee skills to 4, but you can see our dude up here is very fatigued. But that's why we wanted to go ahead and get these strong ale. So we'll go ahead and not what I wanted to do. Let's go ahead and go back here. Go to our care. No, my bad. Let's go to the camp. We'll go ahead and drink the ale that we have, and you can see our fatigue went way down. Decreased our virtue, but also increased our reputation with the other soldiers. Several mugs of strong ale later, one of your drinking companions starts mocking you, making fun of your physique and lack of real combat experience. Wimp and sucker are among the mild expletives in his speech. He's looking for a fight. I'm really not interested in starting a fight. I don't want to get in trouble, so let's try and laugh it off. I have a way with words, and your opponent with a witty, sarcastic joke. Luck check passed. Okay. Reputation with the other soldiers increases. So if we didn't sort of get away with that, it would have hurt our reputation with the other soldiers. Alright, so we're running out of time on our fatigue here, but let's go ahead and, or our time check here, but our character is back to fully fresh. We did do the 1 weapons point, so we're up to 4 on melee weapons. But let's go ahead, and we're at, what are we at now? Negative 10 virtue, so... Oh well. Let's go ahead and do the quest. We'll do the Watchtower. As agreed, you depart from the camp and arrive at the furthest watchtower at midnight. Bartholomew and a couple other soldiers are already waiting for you there. Bartholomew, clearly skilled in the local geography, confidently leads you along the hidden path through a ravine and dense thickets of bushes. After about a quarter of an hour this way, you finally let yourself into the tower through a secret entrance. Inside, Bartholomew once again instructs you, forbidding you make any sound and requiring you to move completely silently. Trying to find the weapons in the room in the endless maze of passages, doors, and stairs that represents the interior of the tower, you find yourself on the creaking plank floor of one of the galleries. One by one, your comrades manage to carefully walk on it without making an unnecessary sound. It's your turn now. Gently stepping on the boards with the grace of a domestic cat, you overcome the obstacle without any problem. So this is an agility check. If our agility was lower, we might fail this, which could end the sort of raid immediately. However, we made it past the agility check, and so now we're making it past the sleeping guards and into the armory to try and take some stuff. So I was starting to get worried, but then, now there's an open door. Bartholomew picked the lock, and the weapons aren't very impressive, but hey, poor man's shield's better than what I got. A free rusty helmet, right? Like I can get all this stuff, and if we don't like it, we can always sell it. So I think this is a worthwhile approach. The Falcone, a slight curved sword, combats handiness. Okay, so this actually might be a better weapon than what we have for fighting, so we might want to consider bringing that to combat here. I like the hunter's sword for when you're out and about, especially because it brings back free money, but a Falcone could be much better in combat. So, filled up some of our inventory. We'll proceed here. So, packed everything we liked, embarked on the return journey. Luck was smiling at us. But then, suddenly in the dark corridors, one of the doors opens before your nose, and you find yourself face to face with a guard emerging from there. Hardly making out your outlines in the dark, he asks who is in front of him. You don't really know what to do, and glance at Bartholomew and his comrades who have gone a little ahead. They're desperately signaling something to you with their hands, but you cannot distinguish the gestures in the dark. The situation quickly becomes critical. Try to stun the guard, I guess. We could run or try and stun him. Let's try and stun him. Gathering all my strength into a fist, land a sweeping hook on the jaw of the guard. Perhaps from your epic strength, or perhaps simply by the sudden drowsiness, the guard falls to the ground like a bag, and you headlong rush to flee. Strength check passed. So that's another one of those things where we had a check. Our strength was good enough. Again, this is like the first chapter of the game, and we started off with a decent sort of set of traits compared to what you normally can. So we made it through largely because, hey, we've played this before and we have a nice strength perk. Plus that one other item we had that gave me like a +3 strength. So we made it out. We have good friends. Bartholomew became my friend. Reputation increased with the soldiers. And that's all good news, I think. Didn't fatigue me at all. I've still got some time to do some stuff. And we can go ahead and trade. So first things first, let's see, well, before we do that, are there any bonus item? Luck. Is this more lucky than my previous one? An assassin's crossbow could be nice. Or light helmet, that's 50. How much is the rusty ancient helmet? 30? Okay. So let's do this. I think we said so this is damage 8, 11, and 14. 9, 13, but damage is 5. This also comes with some prestige. So let's go ahead and do this. What's the wooden club? No prestige there. Sell that. Inventory, we should get rid of... I know I bought it, but we should unequip the improvised shield and use the poor man's shield because it's better. And then let's sell the improvised shield, which I had previously bought. And I think a light... How much better is it? 10 and 30? 10 and 80. Whoa! 10 and 80? 5 and 20? 10, 80, 5 and 20. It is way better. It doesn't give me as much prestige as... and I don't know what prestige matters, but it doesn't give me as much prestige as the other helmet, but it is undoubtedly more effective, which is interesting. Okay. I guess. I don't have a quiver for this, do I? For the crossbow. So in that case, I guess we'll keep the rusty helmet. We'll go ahead and wear it, because it's better. We'll unequip the hunting sword and equip the falcon. I don't love that so much of my inventory is being taken up by stuff I'm not going to use in battle. What's the cross thing do? What can I do with this gold? 10 virtue and 2 vitality. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Spend my money on that. It'll give me a better chance, I think, in the fight. So now we have a very moderate Gambion or whatever light suit of armor with a decent helmet, a shield, a poor shield, but it's a shield, and then a sword. No real coverage to our lower body, but you can see limbs 4, body armor 5, neck armor 5, head armor 10. So it's all good, I guess. Could try and sell the hunting sword. I don't know if I'm going to need it in the next fight. Let's go ahead and go train, I guess. Do another solo practice. Get my weapon skill up to 5. And then we'll go back and we've got to go ahead and rest. So we'll hang around, hang around, hang around. That's going to do it pretty much for this pre-battle phase. Do we have any fatigue? We do. Slight amount of fatigue. So we'll go ahead and pray. Apparently my reputation with the soldiers goes down because I'm a man of the cloth. So you can see here my character now has negative... Actually, we're up to 1 virtue, so we got rid of that negative virtue. Prestige is 3. Strength is 7. Agility is 3. Why does our agility go down? Is it because we're wearing more stuff? Endurance 4. Coordination is 3. 10 for our health effects, and then craftsmanship's 4. All right, 5 for melee weapons, 1 for crossbow, but the crossbow doesn't matter because I don't have crossbow. 10 reputation for the soldiers, but let's go ahead and proceed. So now we're going to go in and take a look at the first instance of combat here. So you can see after spending about a week at Castle Dunkirk, the army eventually begins its march southwest. Your regiment has been assigned to the advanced guard led by the king's son, Edward of Woodstock, the prince. With about half day's march separating him from the main force, Edward's main goal is to scout ahead and make sure that there's no major French reinforcements in sight. Arriving at Cambrai, you see a large French convoy with supplies that is entering through the main gates. The town has obviously not been prepared to handle a long siege yet and stands vulnerable. The young prince, of course, always the young prince, eager to prove himself to his father, chooses a daring move to try and take the city by charging through the yet open gates, of course. Time is of essence, so Edward leads the attack immediately. Prepare for battle. Alright, so inventory, we do have 1 canteen. We do have the sword, the shield, and 6 inventory spaces. So let's go ahead and proceed. Concealed by the forest surrounding Cambrai, the English managed to get close enough to catch the defenders by surprise. The prince spearheads the cavalry charge forward, crushing everything under them and breaking into the city. You and your fellow militiamen, we're on foot, remember, try to gather on their tracks as fast as you can, but the difference in speed is just too great. By the time you finally got to the gates, there's already a large group of enemy soldiers, guards, and militiamen gathering to block your way. And now we move into combat. We're going to skip the tutorial here, mainly because I'll talk to you about it, although I'm sure it won't be as good. So there are 2 things here. There's 2 key traits in this. There's the red bar here, which represents your health, and there is the green bar here. Actually, there's 3 things, which represents sort of your, not your fatigue, it's your stamina. To make an attack, you need to have stamina. To defend against an attack, you want to have stamina. The higher your stamina, the more likely you are to dodge the enemy, and the more likely you are to succeed in an attack. There's also fatigue, which is over here. The more fatigue you have, the less effective you are as a fighter. As a battle goes on, you gain more and more fatigue every single action you take. Now, when it comes to battling, you have a couple of options. You can attack, you can feint, you can use your shield. There's an offensive stance, a defensive stance, and a balanced stance. Obviously, a defensive stance means you'll have a better chance to stop an enemy attack. An offensive stance means you'll have a better chance to attack the enemy, but you might leave yourself vulnerable to an enemy attack. You can recover, which is basically passing your turn to try and gain back some stamina. If you fail, you get like half the stamina back. If you succeed, you get the whole stamina value back. It's like 9 or 10 depending on your character. You have these items here. We could use the canteen. We're not going to do that yet. We can also use a feint, which has the possibility to sort of keep an enemy off balance. We're not going to do that. I'm not a big feint person. But we could use the shield here. So the enemy has a shield worth 25. We have a shield worth 35. So actually our shield is slightly better than the enemy's. Looks like they have a rusty sword here, which could pose a risk of us getting infected, which could cause us to die more quickly. We're going to go on a defensive stance, and then let's try and go with a shield. We got a 47% chance of bashing the enemy and keeping him off balance. We could cower, which gives us a better chance to block the enemy attack, or we could drop the shield. I don't know why. If we go to offensive stance, does the shield odds go up? They don't. So 47% chance. Let's just go ahead and do a defensive thing. I'm doing the shield bash because honestly, his agility is too high for me, or his stamina is too high for me to have a high likelihood of hitting him with an attack. If I miss, it lowers my own stamina. If I hit him with a shield bash, though, it'll lower his stamina before he has a chance to attack. So we'll take a 50-50 chance to do that. So we did it, but he resisted the whatever. However, then he attacked me with his sword, and we blocked it with our shield. So you can see we're at 28 stamina. He's at 27. We'll stay in the defensive stance, and we'll recover. We succeeded, so we got back to 39 stamina. The enemy shield bashed me, but he missed, and you can see he used stamina doing that. So he's down to 12 of 35. Fatigue is at 15 because of all the stuff going on. Out of 43, so we're fresh until 43 fatigue. So now we have a big advantage. We've got a triple his stamina. So we're going to go ahead and switch over onto the offensive and attack. We're going to attack the militiamen. There can be multiple enemies later on. We'll attack the militiamen. Now, there are 3 things we can do. We can do an overhead strike. If we, you can see the odds. The first odd number here is the likelihood of a hit. The second odd number is the likelihood of bypassing their armor and penetrating their armor. A neck hit is the most devastating. In fact, if you got like an axe, you can clean cut their head off, but probably won't for us. That being said, it's the lowest chance of a hit. So you can see the damage multiplier on the neck, very high. Damage multiplier on the head, still very good. Body, less so. So we're going to try for the head. He might block it with the shield. It might block it with the armor, but let's try for the head. 75% chance of hitting, and 100% chance if we do hit, it will penetrate the armor. We missed, so that was fun. Our fatigue went up because we spent it swinging that sword, and now we're going to go ahead and recover to try and get an advantage back on stamina again. So the enemy's going to slash. He missed again. These enemy soldiers are not the best. Obviously, they'll get better later on. An overhead strike is more devastating than like a lunge or a slash. A lunge is better with like ranged weapons or longer weapons like a spear. A slash is just a regular attack. So you can see there's different stamina costs for different weapons. Let's try the overhead attack again. Let's try the head attack again. We hit him. You can see we did quite a bit of damage. 15 damage, plus he's bleeding. Bleeding is a status, so you can see he will be bleeding for 3 more turns, which means he will take damage at the start of every single round because he's bleeding. Now, he's expended all of his stamina, so he has no stamina right now, which should make him very vulnerable to another attack. So we'll go ahead and go with another head attack, 93% odds of a hit. There you go. We hit him. He's down to 2, and now he should bleed out, and he's dead. So we killed this dude way fast. We're a little winded. You can see our fatigue is to level 2, which is 57 out of 86 for the winded category. So we're a little tired, but we killed that guy real fast. I don't know that I've ever killed anyone quite that fast. New enemy soldier rushed in. He's got a shield. He's got some head armor and a decent sword. He might be a little bit more of a threat. We'll go ahead and switch over to recover because our stamina is at 8. So we are not in good shape to receive an enemy attack. Let's go ahead and try and recover. So we succeed. He slashed at our neck and hit and did 10 damage. So quite a bit of damage there. About 1/6 of our total health lost in that slash. We're going to go ahead and recover again to try and get our... We failed there, so we got 5 back. He slashed again. This time my shield blocked it. My shield's down to 24 out of 35 sort of hit points, if you will. So we do have a decent advantage now here. He'll probably not attack again. Let's see what we can do here. An overhead strike. We don't have really good odds. Maybe with the body, but again, he's got a shield. We do a lunge. Good odds with the body. Do a little less damage. We'll do a slash. Uses less stamina, but let's go ahead and do a lunge toward the body. Got a hit in it. Did 8 damage, less than the overhead. Interesting. So he tried to slash, and my armor protected me. So can we attack again? And oh, I don't have enough stamina at 10. Ooh, but I could use our canteen. We get 25 health back instant, or stamina back instantly, and now I can just go right into the attack. It isn't used up for us. Like, we can go straight into it. So let's do an overhead and let's do a body attack. Ah, we missed. These RNGs just drive you crazy, right? Let's try the body again. How did we miss that twice? We're getting tired too. That could be playing into this. Although you'd think the odds would... Whatever. All right, we got back up to 18. He slashed and he missed, thank God. We'll go ahead and try and recover again. I was hoping he would try and attack me again, but let's just keep recovering here. Thank God. He went for a crippling attack, which is a low odd chance, but it could have broken a limb or something that would have been really bad. He failed in that, so we can go ahead and do an overhead body attack. It says 100% chance of a hit. He blocked it with his shield, so his shield's damaged, cut in half down to 14 out of 25, but he did block the attack. So let's switch back to defense and recover. So this is very much like a dicey cat and mouse type of a deal in this kind of a game. You're always sort of back and forth with the enemy. Do an overhead strike on the body again. Hit. 10 damage. Switch back to defense. And as you get more and more tired, it influences your ability to recover from attacks and keep fighting. So you end up going from like a much more frantic paced early part of the battle to like, you know, needing to take a long, you know, more breaks in the fight. All right, another overhead hit. Enemy formation is crumbling. The battle might soon come to an end. I think we have 25 rounds in this fight, so we do want to try and finish him off, because we will get a nice little bonus if we do win. But I also don't want to get myself killed. Blocked with shield. So we went for a crippling blow, but instead he's going to open himself, and we are tired, but we're not like overly tired. Let's do a head attack. 92% chance. Killed him. Split his skull open. Militiaman is killed. +1 reputation with soldiers, +5 gold, and +1. The Earl likes us. So you can see a sea of several bodies and our dead foes. Looting, especially during the active combat, is generally frowned upon in the army. However, this does not deter many soldiers. So there you go. A nice little victory here. We can rest and regain most of our fatigue. That's what we're going to do. We could search the bodies, but that doesn't... You don't know. Like, the battle may not be over here. So you can see, due to the confusion that you... and then you might go into a battle really tired, right? We've managed to overcome the poorly organized... Or they've managed to overcome... Oh, wait. Due to the confusion, you managed to overcome the poorly organized defenders in a swift and rather hectic fight. Their tactical retreat into the walls escalates to a chaotic rout. You storm into the town, hot on their heels. Inside the walls, the situation is changing. The Prince's knights are struggling to hold against the superior numbers of the French, and slowly but surely are falling back toward the main gates. The Prince definitely could use some infantry support, but rushing to his aid may prove dangerous and a dangerous undertaking. Not willing to leave Prince Edward in danger, the Earl quickly calls for volunteers to join the rescue efforts. The rest are told to head to the gates hereafter. It seems only seasoned and fierce warriors are joining the Earl. It's unlikely someone will point a finger at you if you refuse, especially given that you are wounded and exhausted and barely able to stand straight. This is an opportunity to prove yourself to the Earl, and maybe even the Prince, but right now the other side of the scale lies no less than my own life. So again, this goes back to, you know, do you want to be a hero or do you want to survive the war? We're going to try and be a hero and impress the Earl. Many of my fellow militiamen are surprised by my move. The Earl notices me at the start of the campaign, seems impressed, improves my reputation with the soldiers and the Earl. Several other soldiers follow me. to the fight. Bartholomew, my friend, has followed with me. He's going to follow me anywhere. Okay. All right, so now we're facing well-armed enemy soldiers. However, we have a friend. Bartholomew is in the fight with us. He's got 37 and 37. He seems fresh. I'm fresh as well because I rested rather than looted. And so we'll go ahead and switch to a defensive stance. Let's see. This guy doesn't have a shield, so maybe I can shield bash him. I got a much better odd. Nice. Shield bashed him, knocked him down. And so my friend Bartholomew attacks him. The armor takes the brunt of the attack here, 42 out of 44, but we knocked him down. He has no stamina. That was a really good start to the fight. So we can go ahead and try and do an overhead strike. 95% chance of a hit, 100% chance of penetrating the armor if we go for the neck. And boom, 20 health taken away. Bartholomew attacks as well and takes out a good chunk of his health also. So we could stay on the offensive. 80% chance of a hit if we go for the neck. So let's try it again. Hit and immediately killed him. Cut off his head. French footman is killed. +1 reputation with the soldiers. +1 with the earl. +5 with the gold. Do I loot the bodies? Is the fight already over? I guess. Give me the kettle hat. And a water skin. I didn't really use much stamina there, so I don't see why I wouldn't loot it. All right. Well, that was a fast fight against a really... That shield bash was critical. The fact that we bashed him, knocked him over, and then we're basically able to attack him while he was down. So, bloodied and tired, the prince immediately gives the order for a full retreat. Fortunately, goes without incident. The battered town defenders hesitate to give chase, and instead settle with the status quo restored. As you fall back to safety and catch your breath, you are slowly filled with the proud realization that you have just managed to survive your first battle. While you come to your senses and tend to your wounds, the main force of the English army is steadily approaching the city. Columns of people, horsemen, wagons, all stretching for several miles, flow from the horizon in an endless river, slowly pouring into the city from all sides. Having found the sergeant among the survivors, you ask him what will happen now. He responds with only one word: siege. Chapter 1, the Siege of Cambrai, the city of Cambrai in Low Countries. Over the next few days, you watch as a full-fledged city gradually grows around the walls of Cambrai. Thousands of people, hundreds of tents and awnings, dozens of various siege and assault weapons, and long lines of convoys arrive every day from almost all directions. You would not dare to call this a mere camp any longer. According to the sergeant, who is constantly aware of the goings-on, the king will not delay the siege. The success of the entire campaign depends on the speed of the attack, and further delay will give the French a chance to thoroughly gather their strength. This is why the usual siege tactic, winning the city through a war of attrition, is not going to fly with Cambrai. The sergeant says the assault should take place in about a week, when the siege engines are fully deployed and the rest of the reinforcements have caught up with the army. For now, all you can do is take advantage of what peaceful days remain. You have received a salary in accordance with your rank, 55 florins, and we received a bonus payment of 5 florins because we now have a little bit of prestige. So you can see after that battle here, where our health is 45 out of 55, it'll get better if we rest in camp. Same for the stamina. But we're tired. We fought that battle well. We killed a couple of enemy. If we go ahead and we look at our renown, we killed 2 militiamen and a French footman. The fact that we killed the footman so easily was kind of shocking, but that was a very good result, I would say. Go to the camp activities. You can see we're a little bit fatigued here, but nothing too bad. And we now have Bartholomew. He's a friend we can socialize with, so he followed us into battle, and we won that one pretty convincingly. There's new quests and things. Not quite. We haven't found more quests, but we can go ahead and scavenge around Cambrai again. And we can also go ahead and trade stuff as well. Now that we've got a little bit of cash again, we've got, what was it, 55 gold plus whatever we might have looted. Plus we can sell some of the stuff we looted. So yeah, if we actually go to inventory, what is this water? Is this like a canteen? A sip of nice cold? Yeah. So this is like a better canteen, I guess. So go ahead and equip the water skin. The kettle hat, is it a better armor piece? 12. So the one was 10 and 80. With neck, and so actually it's kind of worse. It does give you more prestige, but it's kind of worse, so it might make sense to sell it, right? I think so. Additionally, our shield is damaged, so we can go to the blacksmith to have it repaired, but he has not yet we haven't worked at the smith enough for him to like us enough to repair it. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Heads Will Roll Reforged. I hope you guys liked it. Let me know if you want to see more of this game or not. It's definitely different than Ultimate General American Revolution. We will return to Ultimate General tomorrow. But leave your thoughts below in the comments, and that's going to do it for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching. I'm out.